All right, cool.
Hey, Josh, what are we doing here? You got me back up on this thing on another Saturday. What do you want now?
I gotta start it off like that, man.
I know. I'm,
What
I'm
the?
saying that in the most endearing way, though. What my emotions are really saying is, man, I'm glad I got this time with Cos again.
Oh my God. I just want friendship. I just want friendship and companionship, and
That's that spicy, saucy Ronnie coming out that I just don't know how to
I
control.
know. Sriracha ass. Uh. Anyways, my friend, it. What a week. What a week it's been.
Indeed.
What a uplifting week.
I don't even know where to start.
Lift yourself up on your feet.
Seriously, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Can I shout
Well,
folks out generally?
go ahead.
I want to shout out to all the white people who, regardless of how uncomfortable the conversation is, you are making efforts to have and facilitate the conversation. I'm gonna shout y'all out right now.
Yes.
That
Shout
that
out because
that explains about 70% of my week.
Damn. So you've been you've been Professor Ronnie this week?
Yeah, but you know what, Cos
Dr. Ronnie?
Dr. Rodney, that sounds terrible. Um, you know what, dude? There's a comfort. It's so weird, man, but there's a comfort that comes with this, dude. Like, I'm okay having the conversations for once in my black life. I'm okay with having the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if I'm just numb to it all or what, but it's just like, hey, no, I'm not shying away from this. Like, I'm not trying to be get all the friends Ronnie anymore. If you found in your heart to come to me and you want to talk about this sincerely, I'm gonna give it to you raw with no lube. I'm gonna be, I'm be respectful. I'm be respectful. I'm gonna be
yeah,
no, I'm gonna be calm. I'm not gonna turn up, but I'm gonna deliver to you some harsh truths that I feel like you need to hear in order to move the needle on this thing.
Yeah, and I think it's for the best because, sugarcoating stuff, whitewashing stuff, up until this point is how we got here, People having like misinformation about how other people are feeling, about how the system works, about black and brown experiences, you know, sugarcoating those things we're like we're keeping the truth from people, and that's that's absolutely the worst thing you can do to anybody, your friends, like basically to withhold the proper information so then they can make proper judgments. And then i and then i guess, like, if they don't have the proper judgments, and then like us, if they have all the proper information and they still make poor judgments, then we can lay the smack down. But it's tough to like lay the smack down if, like, I'm looking at you and like, man, you really don't know. Well, like, you're gonna learn something today. Today, you're gonna learn today. Today is the day. But yeah, man. Go ahead.
And I've been returning that empathy to a degree because another one of my superpowers that I can't control is attempting to feel or trying to guess how that person feels in that situation. If you are blind to the facts of the black experience because you haven't lived it for whatever reason, or you haven't made strides to learn more about it, I can understand how this can be hard for you. But I choose not to harp on that. I choose to at least celebrate, at least part of it, at least, but celebrate the fact that you came and you came with an open heart and you came with open ears and you didn't come here to defend anything. You came here to learn. And I'm just like, this is what we need. Can I share something with you, Cos, real quick? Um,
please.
I've got another podcast I do with a good friend of mine. Shout out to the Tipping Point. We've been we haven't talked for 2 years. No, we've been podcasting for 2 years now, And one of the burdens I carry with that is our podcast is very culture focused, right? It's very Black, let's just be honest. And I've been so gun shy about really putting this podcast out because I've been so concerned about how my white friends would view it, and as I can hear you saying, Cos, that's part of the problem. I should be comfortable. And don't get me wrong, we're not bashing white people. We're not anti-white. We're giving you a glimpse into some of our thoughts based upon the Black experience. And there should never be a problem with that. I should never feel like someone is going to go left on me because they get exposed to this. But the reality I'm starting to grasp now, and we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but while I care, if my viewpoints from, through the lens of my life offend you, I don't need to be close to you anyway. And Cos, I'm telling you, man, I'm at the point in my life now, and I'm a little delayed on this. I'm 37. I'm knocking on 38, but it's just like, I am just now starting to understand that. It doesn't change who I am. I think it honestly it presents a better version of myself because I don't have to walk on eggshells around people thinking, having them trying to think one thing. Let me be a better friend to you by giving you access to how I view certain things 100%. And with the technology that is podcasting, you can hear it whenever you want to,
Yeah.
But I believe the current events have really shaped this thought and this mood of who cares? I don't think it's divisive. Let me rephrase that. It is not divisive. It is just my personal opinion, like most podcasts are. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I had to share that.
But it's like, I can't judge you though for being like afraid of that, because the whole reason why, we're in protest of of the world right now, like, I'm not even going to say of it, the whole reason that we're like in protest right now is because like the system has made you scared, like that you can't truly exercise your First Amendment without fear of retribution. Like, and that's not necessarily physically. I mean, that's the whole issue right now. It's like the violence and against Black people, but it's also like the systematic things, like your fear that if I say something sideways, like from the perspective of a white person, like, oh, like what the hell is Ronnie saying? And they have some control over my career, like I can see that like your fear that like that could go sideways for you, and then that directly has a benefit, has a negative effect on your family and like livelihood and stuff, like, or whatever else, like outside of just like what they think as friends, like there's so many, like the sheer fact that like you have that fear, like, is the show that like that system is broken, that you don't, because like think about all these like non-Black podcasters out here saying crazy shit. Like I listen to some of them, like they're not afraid, like they don't have to be, because we all, like, I include myself in that, like we play by different rules, and that's the whole issue. And so like I'm glad that you're feeling that, like almost you're like rising like a phoenix, sort of like out of that like that fear. But it's like, dang, like I'm more it's like I'm very proud, because like that should not, like that's not even expected of you. Like that's, do you like, I know you said like, do you appreciate like when a lot of like your white friends have been coming up to you this week to like ask, is there any part of you though that like feels like, one, I don't phrase this without being a dick, like where were you like 2 weeks ago? Like Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Okay,
because
okay. To that, let me get into that. Because-
so there's, I want to set it up. So like there's that, and then the second one is like, do you feel like, do you have like a limit where you're not, where you're like, are you getting tired from having to do that? Um, you know, like I think you see where my question is going, but go ahead, go ahead.
yeah. Okay. Oh, let me answer the second question first, which is not formal at all. No, I have not grown weary of this at all. Um, to kind of elaborate on the first question, this is bad, but I'm just gonna say it. I just feel like I feel okay. I'll give you an example. You know how there's like how they did the whole Blackout Tuesday thing, right? And there was a whole vibe with that. There was a whole movement with that, right? As I'm getting texts and phone calls from white people, some of which I haven't heard from in over a year or two, I just feel like internally white folks have a similar movement where it's like, reach out to your black friends today.
Oh my
I
god.
feel so bad saying that, but that's kind of like because I chuckle when the texts come in. I'm like, dude, I ain't seen you in 2 years.
So does that mean that you're like their one black friend?
Yes. I am, and
They went through their contact like, I need one. Playing that shit like an etch and sketch. Go ahead.
as funny as it is, I'll take that. If it's going to lead us to progress, I'll take that. Because I know that person at some point felt a certain way and felt inclined to, even if it's a roundabout way, you want to talk about the issue. You want to. So I applaud stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't get tired of it. I'm trying to think of the other part of your first question. I'm so sorry.
No. My thing was just like, where do you have this feeling that like, when they come to talk to you, do you have this feeling of like, oh, like where were you at? Like,
So, so
like we needed you in 2015, but
right. And this is a question that I have not gotten a solid answer on yet. But as we're having these conversations, I seem to always bring myself to the point of asking, what was it about George Floyd's execution that made the light switch go on? Which kind of goes back to your question, where were you 2 years ago? And I've gotten a lot of, well, it's just wrong. He didn't deserve that. And, naturally, and I don't always say it, but my instinct in retaliation to that is, well, what about all the other
Like
women that were, like the whole Breonna Taylor thing, which I feel like is kind of getting lost in this whole thing. But like everyone had access to know what happened in that situation. Like, why wasn't that case garnered the same amount of coverage as George?
she was at her house,
right,
sleeping.
And cost the only thing I can think of, and I don't ever answer this question for them, but the only thing I can think of is with George Floyd, it is right there in front of your eyes. You've got all the footage you need. You've got everything you need, and unless you're just unless you're just on the side, or if you're an oppressor, you can look at that and use your heart of hearts to know, hey, look, this isn't right. Like there is no way, there's no justification to this, right? And I think for once, white people have all the evidence. So I think that's why a lot of white people are coming out of the woodwork, and they're like, hold on, you mean to tell me you've been dealing with stuff like this for hundreds of years? Yeah.
Yeah, we try to tell you. That's basically what you're saying.
It's so crazy how, and God, I'm not trying to do this whole woe is me thing, but in my experience being a black male, being harassed by the cops, being pulled over, being cuffed for no reason, how many times I fit the description, and talking about it, it's somewhat of a normalized environment when I present it. And I the conversations that I've gotten to have in person when I'm sharing stories like this, and the look of shock and awe, like, Ronnie, how could someone ever do this to you? It's like, whoa, we
Uh,
so again, I keep coming back to this. It's hard for me to be angry when white people come to me and are asking questions like this. Just because, and the fact that they want to know does everything for me. But I feel like a lot of white people have been in their own worlds, doing their own thing, not really concerned about the Black experience. And I'm glad that that's changing.
It sounds like you're being very present about it, instead of like harboring any, which I think I think again, like, dude, big ups to you, because I would be so pissed. I'd be like, motherfucker, I told you. We've
That's what I
been
tell a
saying.
lot of people. I was like, if you feel inclined to have this conversation with another person of color, please don't go into it thinking it's going to be just like this. I said, other people are angry, as they should be. I'm not saying that's wrong. They got pent up anger, and they want this opportunity to give you a even more raw snapshot of their lives. And as you can hear by my experiences, which pales in comparison to a lot of my fellow Black people, that them going through that on a exponential level compared to me, that's going to naturally generate a lot of negative emotion. So I caution you to tread lightly and be more focused on listening.
exactly.
I had a lady. I'm sorry, Cos. Am I dominating?
No, you just said to listen.
That's true. Let me listen to you, Cos. Let me listen to you, dude.
No.
You know how I get, man.
No, I was just gonna have a follow-up question of I was just gonna have a side to just say, like, and your friends are lucky that you've been potting for like 2 years, so like you know how to run and use your mouth and like articulate yourself properly. Like, like, this is a very specific opportunity you have, Ronnie's friends. This is a very specific. Don't mess it up. You got a good thing going. Don't flip it sideways, my friends.
Right.
Everybody that's listening, that's Ronnie's friend. You got a very...
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I know you and I spoke in depth yesterday. And dude, I didn't say this on the call because you were enlightening me so much. But shout outs to you for really being that change agent, and really, really, like, going out and gauging the temperature of people that are close to you in terms of this racial injustice and things like that. So with that said, are you comfortable, like, elaborating on a little bit of the conversations that you've been having?
Yeah. Let me preface this that, like, this last week was like a real, like, roller coaster of emotions from like that really started with a lot of like anger and like frustration that really stemmed from a lot of unknown and like anxiety about like where people in my life stood on this topic, especially given like moving down to the South and not really having to experience like this worry, especially because, I mean, you spoke about it earlier that like a lot of people have like a very like sheltered lifestyle. And it's funny to say that, like, when you say that, you only think of like hyper conservative people that like, they just went to like private, like, like private like Christian school, and like they don't know anything about evolution and shit like that, and then they've never like talked to a brown person in their life, like, and just shit like that. But like it happens on the opposite side too, where like you have this like liberal progressive bubble. And shout out to my mom, because we we joke like that whenever we get into like political debates, we're just masturbating because it's just like we're just talking to someone that we like, know like we agree with. Like that's not doing anything. Like, you know what I mean? I've been calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, why are you really like? You're trying to debate me like we believe the same shit. What are you talking about? And then she jokes. She's just like,
Sorry.
no, and you just joke. It's just like, no, like, she's just like, I'm just sharpening my, she's just so funny. She's like, I'm just sharpening my arguments against, against the opposition. I'm like, Mom, you never talk to the other people about this stuff. But, so anyway, so just to like kind of illustrate that, like, I feel like I could live in that bubble too of same, like an echo chamber. And so there's discomfort there on the other, coming from the other side of like, I have all these same beliefs and stuff. And so I have like fear for that some of my friends who aren't as vocal and aren't as public about their displays of solidarity, like that they're like racist or something. But I'm not saying that they're not. They might be. It's just that like I haven't asked yet. And so I've been trying to like this week was like what was so big for me was to try to like, as a non-black ally of the cause, like I'm trying to kind of like soften my heart a little bit because one, like I'm angry, but I'm like, it's like a secondhand angry. And so I don't want that anger to like displace the space of, my friends in the black community, like who are actually living this experience, who are like exhausted from their everyday life and not just exhausted from this week of like where you don't know if your friends are fucking racist or not. Like it just pales in comparison so much, So I'm just like, okay, I have the advantage to like take a step back and kind of assess the situation a little bit more without that anger. And if I can achieve that, like, let's try. And so, like, I've been trying to pose questions and check in, like, from a more, like, a softer heart perspective, like kind of a point of view, instead of coming into those situations to be like, yo, man, where the fuck have you been? Like, why haven't you said anything? Like, I don't see your Instagram stories aren't popping off. Like, what's happening? Like, it's hella easy. Like, cause that would have been me on Monday. That would have been me like regular. But it's just like, I'm trying to realize that one, that everybody's experience, like we talked about, like has not primed them to have the same understanding at the same timetable as me, as you, as, and especially to my like white friends who like don't deal with this shit at all. So they're trying to intellectualize it, but unfortunately some of them aren't intellectuals. So you're not even smart, like, I'm calling you a dumbass, but so like they're trying to like empathize and intellectualize themselves into those shoes to like understand, but they can't because they don't have the skills. Like, so it's just like trying to like understand that you're not at that same timetable, but also knowing that if I don't do something about this right now, if I don't reach out and ask or like bring up the conversation or like not deal with like the uncomfortableness of that moment, then I'm not doing anything to spark a redirection on that timetable, Like I'm not helping accelerate it. Like, yeah, I can be upset that I can understand that you're not on the same timetable, but what I can do as a person is flick a switch on my side to hopefully flick a switch on yours to speed that timetable up. Because if nothing has done it up until this point, hopefully my voice and the relationship that we've created over these years or whatever, like, will do that. You know, so like I think that's my best space. Obviously, a lot of people are angry, especially non-black people are like very angry and like expect people to like be posting all day. And I believe you. Hey guys, like I was right there Monday, Tuesday, you know, like I was right there. Even last week, all of last week, honestly. Like, where are you guys at? Like, I was so freaking mad. But maybe it's probably just I'm watching a lot of Avatar right now. But it's, which is like, dude, like honestly, perfect timing, man. But it's like that anger, especially coming from my perspective, because like I said, it's secondhand. Like, it's secondhand. So that anger is fueled by gas that I didn't put in, you know? So it's like, that's why I don't diminish the anger in the black community at all. Like, you guys get to be fucking pissed, like 1,000%. Like, but it's like I'm over here. I'm like I'm mad for you, like how I'm mad if my best friend got beat up. But like, it's a different. It's like if my best friend got beat up on the playground or something. I'm pissed. So I'm in the position to do something about it. But since I wasn't in the altercation, like, again, it's still secondhand. So if I come in there like blazing fists, like, I feel like it's at least from my perspective, I'm escalating that instead of like trying to divert this person's like faulty perspective into something more productive, you know? And like sharing with, like, I think what's been also really good too is like sharing like in those moments, like sharing like my own biases going into this like past couple of weeks, and then sharing how I've changed in the last 2 weeks too, and like how I've grown. And I think that's also like really disarms people, you know? So like I share that as like a suggestion to everybody that that is non-black, that is engaging other non-black people in this conversation. Like Michael Jordan said in The Last Dance that I never asked these motherfuckers to do something I would not do.
Yeah.
And I think it's like missed on a lot of people that like you want people to have this like growth and this change, but you're not being vulnerable enough to start the conversation in your own growth and in like your own toxicity and like how you, and sharing like how you've grown from that. And so I see a lot of like prescriptive like statements about what to do and how to be. But it's like, I think if you start that off by just saying like, hey, like I was Filipino and like I am Filipino. Like I'm Filipino and I'm an immigrant and I had all these biases, even though I was brown, and it was built up through culture, through like through the system, like, and this is how I'm growing. And like, you see how like this sucked and blah, blah, blah. And like, I can't believe I believe this. And I think that's so disarming to people. Like, it's almost like an 8 Mile. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just fucking like hitting a soliloquy right now, but like, it's in like an 8 Mile where like Eminem like shit on himself during the rap. So it's like disarms the other dude. Like, you can't even rap at me because I've already called it all out.
That's what you gonna say.
Yeah. So it's like, what are you gonna say? It's like, now we can have this conversation because like now, you know, I'm not here to like pick and prod at you. I'm here to like lay out my shit. Lay down yours too. And we can now, if we're both vulnerable, now we can have this like sick conversation, you know? And it's like a lot of people are coming in prescriptive, like do this, do that, do this, do that. But it's like, especially from like when it's secondhand, it's like it's tough to listen to it, like a skinny Asian dude about like what to do about racial injustice when like he doesn't like deal with it like very much, you know, like in the grand scheme of things. So it's just like, nah, just lay bare your shit, like, and then you can have a conversation, because then people's guards will be down, man. They'll see like, damn, like this dude or this gal, like they're open, and when they see that you're vulnerable, they see that you're not being defensive about your own bullshit. Like they can have a conversation about their bullshit in like a more productive way. So I share that, like this experience in this last week. Like that's my TED Talk.
Look, I know the answer to this question, but for our listeners and viewers, dude, why do you care so much, man? Not and this transcends racial injustice. I'm talking about human rights, because you and I have had conversations on things across the board that we just feel like are not right. You know, we've chopped it up over LGBTQ type inequalities and things like that. I just got to ask, like, what makes you care so much?
Great question. I grew up a Christian, so Jesus told me to care. And I think it's almost as simple as that, because I say that again for the people listening who are probably in my life that, you know, believe certain things too. Like it started as simple as that how can, like, just like from a faith-based standpoint, like if you believe that an omnipresent, omnibenevolent, omniscient creature created a bunch of stuff that supposedly are like in his image and that he loves them all, how can you also believe that some of them are worse than the other? How can you believe that some people have less value, that despite their own personal beliefs, which I can get into in a conversation about free will, but that's probably a different podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
These people who, despite their beliefs, despite their free will, are still loved equally. How can you believe that they are still of lesser value than other people in this world, or are more deserving, or are less deserving of like some form of eternal like salvation? Those things don't add up, and that's part of the equation of why I care. That's like the more spiritual one. On a ethical standpoint, I on top of like obviously like Jesus and more recently like more Buddhist, more Taoist beliefs, like in addition to those, I'm very much like a Kantian, like Immanuel Kant as in terms of my ethics. And so like with that, if you're unfamiliar with Kantian ethics, he really speaks about it like the simplest way I can say is this: like if you're thinking if something is good or wrong, right? Plug it into this kind of like equation. If X, like insert that act, if X was done by all people, what would the outcomes be, and would they be good? You know, so like as simple as like, is littering bad? Like, is that a question? Is littering bad? Okay, let's play out the scenario. If everybody littered, all people littered, like threw shit out their cars, like what would happen to the world? And then you play that out, and then you end up seeing that the world's full of trash, and that in itself might not be bad, but then the sheer fact that like it would impede the growth of like plants, which would like impede the growth of like of animals, which would like get in the way of like people being able to like eat and have sustenance. Then we all die. You know what I mean? Like it's probably bad, you know? So with that in mind, like on a human rights thing, is that should we, like, if the question is, should we oppress black people? Right? Then you play out that scenario. Play it out. Like, should we, or like, even if you make it as simple as like, should we continue to treat black people the same as they've been treated? Like, not even without those like prescriptive or like judgmental terms of like, should we oppress, like these like very loaded words, like, should we continue to treat black people the same as they've been treated? Then you have to like think about, what does that mean? Like, how have black people been treated? Have they been treated as well as white people, as brown people, as Asian people, even as like, you know, other like marginalized groups? Okay, no, they have not been treated as well. Okay, you know what I mean? So like you keep going down that rabbit hole and then you see the outcomes of that. And it's just like, damn. And then on top of it, this is like a long answer to your question, but I really want to get this on paper for everybody who's in my life that's like, why do you fucking care, right? But then also like I'm a big student of John Rawls, who preaches like justice is fairness as a philosophy. So like the idea of like the veil of ignorance, like if you are going to create a society, if you're going to create a world from scratch, right, that you don't know as the creator, you're going to get plopped back into the world after the fact, right? So you're going to get taken out, you're going to create this world, everything's going to get mixed up based on your rules, and you're going to get thrown back in. But you're behind the veil of ignorance. You don't know whether you're going to be at the top of the list or at the bottom. You don't know if you're going to have a job. You don't know if you're going to be 6'6" and athletic, or if you're going to be 5'4" and like wimpy, or you don't even know if you're going to have like, if you're going to be born with a heart defect. Like you don't know any of this stuff. You're just going to get thrown back in. What type of society would you create? Would you create this society that we have now? Does that make sense? Like, me, I wouldn't. Selfishly, check it out. Just like selfishly, let's make this about you as the individual. Like, if you don't know, right? Would you create systems that, would you create like even tax systems that disproportionately affect certain types of people? Or would you try to keep it like as even as possible? Or would you even like try to tax the people that like do a little bit better so that it funds other stuff? Would you create a police system that, you know, is it, you know, skewed a certain way? Or would you want them to equally treat all people the same? Like, I think I would pick the second one, because if I get plopped down, this is what I'm saying, think about this selfishly. You would create systems that no matter where you land on that spectrum, you're gonna be Gucci. like,
Yeah.
And so like with that in mind, I'm looking at this. It's not built like that. And so that's why justice is so important to me, because what people don't understand is like, we don't want equality, we want justice. Because equality means that you want us all to run the same race. But what if that means that you're telling me that the finish line and the starting line are all the same. There's no obstacles in the way. And, you know, all of that. So with that, but right now, like everyone's lane is different. Everyone's like length of their race is different. Everyone's like obstacles are different. So if you want it to be equal, you have to introduce fair justice, which will like clean up, which will adjust the race lengths, which will adjust the obstacles in the way. You know, you're not propping them up. You're fixing the root of the cause, the root cause of the problem. And so yeah, that's why I care. And then also on a third thing, I like things in threes. The other reason I care, again, selfishly, like I was telling them about this the other day, like businesses and stuff, like, because I'm a business person. It's in your interest as a business person that everyone is empowered and everyone has the economic ability to reach financial independence and reach like certain levels of like, you know, economic standing. It is in your interest to support those types of causes, because the more money is in the more people's hands, the more people that can buy your dumb shit. Your dumb shit. Whether it's houses, whether it's iPhones, whether it's like trendy clothes, it is in your interest as a business, selfishly, that everyone has the same economic and systemic opportunities. Because check it out, man. Hey, Mr. Apple. And, you know, I think Apple's been pretty okay about all this situation. But I'm just saying, they've been chill. But, like, just like in Apple's situation, like, do you want only certain people to have a lot of money? Because check it out. People only need one iPhone. So do I want 300 million people having the ability to have the iPhone? Or do I want 100 million people being able to have an iPhone? No, I want as many people to have $1,200 disposable to buy dumb shit. Like, so it's like, why? Just like that's basic economics. Like, so there, like, it's in my interest selfishly that everyone has opportunity to ball the fuck out, because the more people that can ball out, the more opportunities I have, more opportunities my white friends have, the more opportunities my black friends have, and we're out here just doing baller shit. And so, like, that's how it ended out. We go from Jesus to John Rawls to buying dope things. It's a win-win-win. And this is why I care, and that's my long answer to that.
Dude, you put that so eloquently, man. But it's like I've had similar thoughts though. Like, yeah, create a level playing field. Because, man, if everybody eats, that means more people got to buy your food to eat.
My guy. Yeah, it's just like, why do you want there to be a pyramid of wealth? Like you want things, and I'm not even saying like, oh, socialism or whatever. No, that's not what I'm saying. Like, oh, you want a socialist thing? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want everybody, like, to me, my big thing is, you're not a real capitalist unless you want everybody to be at the same starting point to go get the same thing. Like, to get the same starting point, like, everybody's got the same obstacles. I'm not saying there's no obstacles, because I don't want a handout either. Like, that's honestly the most Republican thing about me. Like, I love meritocracy. Like, let's go. Like, but here's the thing. Michael Jordan, the greatest winner of all time, probably next to Alexander the Great or something.
Oh, okay, all right.
He doesn't want to be up 10 with a handicap to start the game. 0-0. We got the same ball, same court. You got 4 dudes. I got 4 dudes. Let's roll.
Go. Yeah.
Let's go. And you're not a real capitalist unless you want everyone to play by the same rules, have the same obstacles, have the same like benefits, disadvantages. Let's throw the ball up. Let's see who wins. That's meritocracy. You know what's not meritocracy? If you have a leg up and then you beat me. That's fucking whack. Like, you're not a real winner. Like, you're not a real winner. You won because you were ahead. Like, you're making me work harder to catch you. And in some cases, I'm beating these fools. So if anyone's a real winner here, it's me. But what I'm saying is, like, you're not a real winner unless you want everybody to win. Like, so all you fake capitalists out there, like, get on the cause, or else you're a fake. You're a fraud. Like, you're whack. Like, you just want to win because you already got a leg up. No, like, support all these people, have them come up, and then beat them again. That's real capitalism. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, dude. I was gonna ask you though, like,
yeah,
what have you been sharing with your non-black white friends, like what they can be doing to help in the meantime? Like, what are some of your like action items for them?
So
Your homework.
my first thing was and shout out to Arrows Digital Media too. Them guys, man. Anyway,
Those are good dudes.
Man, I'm gonna just leave that there. These dudes are just like amazing. But I usually start out with find a black business and find a way to support it. A black owned business. Yeah. So, and be intentional about supporting it and be genuine about supporting it. And then after that, and this has gotten me some flack, I'll be honest, but I've encouraged people to share what's been learned in these conversations that I've been having with them to their own communities.
Yes.
Especially the white community. And that makes people uncomfortable, because when you go back to the country club and you talk about, your meeting with your black friend and what he has to go through, some people are going to look at you a certain way. And you got to be ready to receive all that and still stand on what's right. So I can understand why I get some tension there when people ask, well, what can I do? Of course, I say black business, but then I say, go tell somebody else about this. Tell somebody else that looks like you about this conversation.
Yeah.
So it's just, you trying to be part of the change or not? Or you just trying to audit this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and
you just want to check a box?
Yeah. It's that simple. And let's be honest, there's some folks out here checking boxes.
Yeah.
They want to check box and wait for the next thing to happen in the media cycle and then go with that. But, that's up to you. When you come to me and have conversation, we're going to chop it up, but it means nothing if you and I have that conversation, it stays there and then we're done with it. It means nothing. Well, no, let me take that back. It is impactful, I do believe. But dude, if you can take that message and spread it, because odds are you roll with a lot of people that are going to be just as touched by these stories as you were. So imagine that.
And also, I want to say to my non-black friends, why that is such a big, why that's such a great suggestion from Ronnie. It's think about it this way. For every hour that you have a conversation with one of the people in your community to further educate them and you challenge their thought, when they get sideways, that's an hour Ronnie can rest. That's an hour somebody that is actually dealing with this shit and not just inconvenience that their Instagram's fucked up. That they can they're exhausted, dog. They're
oh man.
You're amplifying that message. And more importantly, I've been saying something to the same thing to my friends, Ronnie, is you get when I tell them my non-black friends, you get to be in rooms that your black friends and family members don't get to be in.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? You get to be in those rooms, you get to talk in those communities with respect. They will listen to you where they might not listen to somebody that looks like Ronnie. Unfortunately, that's the whole fucking problem. And so when you have that influence, however small it is, just the sheer fact that you're in that room and get to talk and be listened to, it's more powerful. So you're amplifying that moment that you had with somebody like Ronnie, and that's honestly the best thing you can do, because, a lot of these people that are trying to minimize the situation, it's so worried about systemic change. You just got to do fix one person and then you fix another person. Then fix one person that looks like you, that doesn't look like Ronnie, because they get it.
No, we're cool already.
No, yeah, you can. I mean, you can keep talking to black friends. That's cool, but go make the change in your community if that's real. Keep that energy. that you're coming at me with. Yeah.
Can I share some with you
Yes.
as an extension of that? And I know our time is running out, so I'll keep this as brief as I can. There was a narrative put out early on with, when the protest started that, this is a white people problem. White people created it. White people got to fix it. I'm not gonna lie, Cos. That didn't make me feel good. It honestly didn't. But as you start to have conversations with white people and they start to be transparent and very vulnerable about their upbringings, you start to realize the truth in that narrative. And so, kind of to your point, you can invite me to your country club's dinner night event or whatever and have me as the keynote speaker, and I can get up and share some truths to everyone in that room, but it's not going to hit the same way if you a part, and I'm using the country club as a loose narrative, but you feel me, but it's not going to hit the same if you were up in front and you were sharing these harsh truths. It's so weird, but that's where we are now. But when you said that, I thought about my viewpoints on that white people problem. White people got to fix it. But it's the truth, man. I'm personally not going to be as open and out there like that. I'm just going to really focus on doing my part to help empower those to fix it. But I've switched my stance on that. I don't feel as negatively about that as I once did, because it wasn't up to us. We were brought here, and we had to fight for everything we got. And it was just like, the only reason we had to fight is because it's people that look like white people were the ones oppressing us.
Yeah.
And all of these ideologies are forced down from generation to generation, and it seemingly gets a little worse. So it's just like, how am I positioned to fix that? How was MLK in position to really fix that? Not discrediting what he did, because he did a lot of work, but it's just like, at the end of the day, if we really want to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this, it's on the white people. It really is.
Yeah. No, and I 100% agree that it's not on the black community to fix this, because what we've shown throughout all the protests throughout the centuries, is that you have tried. And so it's like basic marketing, language here. We've A/B tested, let's try it where it's just the black people talking. Let's try it where it's everybody. I think the one where everybody's talking means that it was everyone aside from the black people that were causing the shit, but also the ones like the marginalized black community, the one that we've marginalized already, and we expect them to also fix the problem that we created. That's selfish and un-Christ-like. So that's not how this works. Black people, the whole reason, right, is that you don't have systemic power, right? And we're asking people with no systemic power to create systemic change.
Those things just don't add up. Right? They just don't add up. And
we're seeing now, like, where does the power
lie?
And, dude, it's Spider-Man, dude. It's simple.
It really is simple.
Create power comes create responsibility. The power dynamic puts a responsibility on not black people. Like, that's as clearly as it. Like, they're the ones out there protesting, but unless other people that don't look just like them get up in arms and fix things, and I think it's starting to happen. I think there's like, you feel a wave.
Some white people have been coming through, dude.
Coming through, man.
Real.
Super coming through.
Yeah,
man.
And not just white people. It's been our Asian community. It's been our Latino community as well. I mean, like everybody, and even on a global scale, cause like,
dude,
there's stuff going on in Paris. Like, I'm like, man, let's go.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
dude. Shout out to the internet, right? Dude, shout out to the fucking internet. Because, dude, if MLK had the internet,
we may have been Gucci right now. That's a really good point.
Dude, the internet, man, it's so tight. I love the internet, but yeah, dude, like it's up to us as like supporting communities, because I'm telling you right now. Other communities, I know for a fact you motherfuckers like love Black culture.
Yes, come on.
And if you love Black culture, like I saw a quote the other day. It's like, if you've ever quoted a damn Lizzo song, you better donate right now. And you know who I'm talking to.
You know who you are.
I know who you are. You better stay $50 in that ACLU donation or something, man.
So true. So true.
So like, support Black people like you support Black culture. Like, all of our communities have benefited so much from the contributions and of Black people and Black culture, and you know, you're a hypocrite if you're not helping, because you know, like, this is what I love about like Black people so much, like in Black culture so much, is like, for as much of the oppression and the bullshit you guys deal with, people like you keep giving and keep creating and keep like injecting so much love and beauty into the world amidst that pain. And it's just like it's fucking unreal. It's unreal. You know what I mean? So
I had a coworker say the same thing to me after we had a really, really not intense, but really, really deep conversation about that. And as she's got tears coming from her eyes, she says, Ronnie, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, y'all. Let me just say that. But she says, Ronnie,
toot that thing, baby.
She says, Ronnie, I don't know if you realize just how much of a light you are in this place, but for me, hearing just a little bit of what you've gone through, I don't know how you can come in here with that bright attitude, inspire so many people the way that you have, and still know you got stuff out there you got to deal with. And, you know, I coined it Black magic. That's the only explanation I can have for it, you know? So
yeah, everybody that's listening, like I hope that you can, this week, if last week you weren't sure, if you were just kind of on the fence, just ask you, man, soften your heart, like, do deep reflection, confront your biases, and and it's gonna be scary, man. It's gonna be like really, it's gonna feel super fucked up, and you're gonna feel a lot of guilt, and like guilt of things that like you feel like are unfair, because you're like, well, I didn't actively do that. It's okay. Like, just know, like, there's time to redeem those feelings, you know, like, it's not done. Like, just because you feel bad, like, doesn't mean it's forever. Like, there's things we can do about that. Like, tomorrow, like, there's still tomorrow. There's still the day after that. Like, we can fix all this stuff. But it honestly starts with your own self-reflection. Meditate on why you feel the way you feel. Like, if you have biases, like, why do you feel this way? Like, why am I so angry when somebody like calls out that I have privilege? And I'm also I'm speaking out in terms for like Asian people and like people in my community. Like, why do I feel that? Ask these things. Like, it's honestly what, like I said, it's what's asked of us spiritually. So just do it, man. Just sit down when you have some quiet time. Just live within your thoughts and, that'll really help. Like, that's honestly the first step. If you're unsure where to start, crawl in your head, unpack some heaviness, and then you'll be good to go. Ronnie, any last words? Final thoughts?
And I want to offer this. Seriously, if you're out there and you may not know me, and you, to be honest, and you may be white and you want to have the conversation, let's I'm putting myself out here. I will make time to have the conversation. I will listen. It will be civil. We will grow together. I will guarantee you of that. So that's all I got.
Sweet, man. Sweet. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and see you hopefully next week.